Hey up viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist and welcome back to So You're Being Hunted. This is episode 220 now. So, remember in the last sort of 4 episodes or so, we did our parkour assassin challenge for the third time, and we were successful at last, so third time luckier there everybody. So we're back here of course in the world of Sir. This is just going to be another kind of a chill out episode, which I'm increasingly doing very often these days, particularly between challenges. That's the thing. I'm, quite enjoying it. Just, chilling out between episodes, talking to you guys out there, or rather, just talking to the camera, and you guys can talk back to me in the comments or whatever. But yes, so in many ways, this is kind of one of those sort of almost podcast-style episodes. So yes. Hope you're all, of course, doing very well out there. Hope you're all up for a nice little relaxing episode where we sit back and just chat about general things that are going on in the world right now, or something like that. That's essentially what I usually do with these things. So there we are. So, of course, like I say, how you guys are doing out there? Hope you're all, of course, doing well. Hope you're all having a nice, relaxing time watching this. I certainly am myself. I'm actually recording this before I set out to go and do my show for a volunteer radio position. That's the thing, I'm pretty sure in one of my previous episodes, when Phil joined me, we talked, of course, about the fact that he was volunteering he was a volunteer radio presenter, and I've since joined that station as well. I won't say which station it is, just for, privacy reasons, but as I say, of course, I've joined it, and, I'll be holding a 2-hour show it'll be starting at 12 o'clock lunchtime today, as when I record this, Sunday the 15th of April. So yes, of course, by the time this video goes out, the probability is this video will go out at least several weeks after I've recorded it, because obviously I haven't yet actually uploaded the thingy bobbers, the episodes from the Parkour Assassin Challenge, before I actually record this. But I felt like recording this just because there were so many things going on at present that I want to talk about. I didn't want to leave them. So here I am talking about them right now, but of course you guys won't actually be hearing any of this until presumably at least I'd say 4 or 5 weeks until after I've actually recorded it. But who cares? We can still have a chat about it. So yes, I'm now a volunteer radio presenter. I still technically haven't been through my induction just yet, but I am actually now starting to do some shows. Station manager is okay with it. So yeah, like I say, I've got a show on Sundays, 12 till 2. It's very, very nice. I basically talk about history and play classical music. That's what I do. It's really good. I've got my current plan at the moment. The thing is, actually, as of today, the day I record this, 15th of April, that's actually the 106th anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic, which is a momentous event in maritime history. So, of course, I'll be talking about that. I'm going to be doing a special, actually, on that today, just because, like I say, such a momentous event. And, of course, if I'm going to be talking about history, it's a good one to talk about. So I've got all kinds of information, not just about the sinking itself, but also about the background of the vessel, so about the Olympic class, about the White Star Line, about a little bit about Harland and Wolff, who were the company. They were the company that actually built the Titanic. Of course, White Star Line, for anyone who doesn't know, that was the company that owned the Titanic, but the company that actually built it, like I say, was Harland and Wolff. So yes, fun little historical fact for you there. So I'll be talking, of course, about all those little details, as well as, of course, the legacy of the Titanic sinking, because that's the thing, you might think that the sinking of the Titanic was something that happened a very, very long time ago, back in 1912, and you might sometimes wonder, what kind of relevance does that have to today's world? But the fact is that it is relevant to today's world, because the effect of the disaster is still felt today. So the thing is, one of the big things that came about after the Titanic sinking, and partly, I guess, in response to it, was the adoption of Convention on Safety of Life at Sea, or whatever it was called, which is basically an international standardisation of maritime safety rules and regulations. And of course that governs maritime practice even to this day, which is, pretty big when you think about it on an everyday level. Every single day, merchant seafarers going out there have to adhere to those protocols. So yes, Titanic still has an impact on today's world, even though it's, now sunk 160 years ago. But yeah, it's always important, I think, with historical subjects sometimes to try and, show why we study them still, why and how they still impact on today's world. So if you want to get people to really appreciate the value of studying history, you've got to show that, in my opinion. And that's, of course, what I'm going to be aiming to do, hopefully, in my radio show on Sundays. So, yes. Okay, right. So that's that. I'm now a volunteer radio presenter. The show is technically called Musical History with Andrew, or Sunday Musical History with Andrew, which hopefully isn't too misleading a title. I mean, it has the basics, music, of course, I'm going to be playing classical, and history, which I'm going to be talking about. I'm just hoping, of course, that people don't look at the title and get confused and think that I'm going to be talking about the history of musicals, which is not what I'm going to be doing. So, yes. Don't get it confused in that regard. We'll see. We'll see how the title goes down with the people listening. If it needs to be changed, then I guess we can always do that in the distant future, perhaps. So yes, that's that particular topic out of the way that I wanted to talk about. I am now a volunteer radio presenter on Sundays. Absolutely lovely. Of course, I'm also going to be presenting on Saturdays as well with Phil on his shows, where he just sort of listens to pop music and sort of discusses news articles and video games and things like that more generally. So yeah, I'll be presenting Saturdays and Sundays. Saturdays in the evening, 6 till 8. Sundays, midday, 12 till 2. It's really good. So 4 hours in total at weekends. So not too much. Should be good. Yeah, that's good then. So that's that topic out of the way. But there's actually something else that I wanted to talk about for this chill out episode of Sir. Something that I've actually done fairly recently. So, of course, as I've been saying repeatedly, the date on which I record this is 15th of April. Of course, by the time the video goes out, it'll probably be several weeks after that. But earlier this week, from between Monday and Wednesday, I was actually down in Oxford, down south in the UK, just on a little trip down, a little break away from things. So yeah, that's actually will probably explain why there weren't videos actually on that particular Tuesday and Wednesday. Whichever days they were. I can't be bothered doing the mathematics in my head at the moment. But yeah, I was in Oxford, and it was an absolutely wonderful little trip. Got to see all kinds of things. I mean, there were two particular highlights, actually, from the trip, which I'm definitely going to want to talk about here, because they were very, very enjoyable. So, first one of those, actually, was when I went to the Ashmolean Museum, which, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically a huge museum in the centre of Oxford, the historic centre of the city. And it has a huge range of exhibitions, particularly, well, there's a combination of things. There's a number of exhibitions of ancient artefacts from various civilizations, and then on the upper floors there's an art gallery as well. So there's a different combination of stuff there for people who are interested in it. But I'll talk particularly actually about the historical exhibitions, because they were fascinating. So, like I say, they had a lot of artifacts from various ancient civilizations. So, for example, they had Roman stuff, Greek stuff, ancient Egyptian stuff, as well as stuff taken from Chinese and Japanese civilizations. Incredible artworks and artifacts. I mean, for example, I can remember some notable exhibits being the sort of halls where they had lots and lots of Roman and Greek marble statues that had been recovered from excavations around the world in, the sort of Victorian times. And, despite the fact that these things are well over 1,000, perhaps nearly as high as 2,000 years old, they are in remarkable good condition, and they've been, some of them have been restored to an extent to try and get them back to their original state. So it's incredible to see those. Like I say, also there was an exhibition on ancient Egyptian artifacts. That also was quite fascinating. Thing is, ancient Egypt, when people think of that, they usually have that kind of association with all of the ancient Egyptians' kind of rites surrounding death and the afterlife. That's the thing. Ancient Egypt is often quite heavily sort of associated with that. But yeah, there were a lot of artifacts in that regard. So we're talking things like sarcophagi, coffins, those kind of coffin lids that are sort of, shaped like human forms. Canopic jars, there were a lot of those as well, especially ones with lids that were sort of carved in the shape of animals, things like that. Oh, man. As well as, of course, actually various statues and busts of various ancient Egyptian gods, like Sobek, for example. There was one of him, the crocodile-headed god. He was one there. There was also Min, the fertility god from ancient Egyptian mythology, which is a rather interesting one because he's often depicted as having a giant friggin' phallus. Fun little fact there. But yes, so there are a couple of statues of him. It was amazing. Like I say, also stuff from Roman and Greek. Actually, on the subject of Roman stuff, there were a couple of sarcophagi dating from the Roman era, which were sarcophagi that were designed for children, presumably who had died during their childhood. Well, of course, that's pretty self-explanatory. What I'm saying, children who died during their childhood, of course, that's a bit redundant. What I'm saying, children, people who died during the childhood, that's what I wanted to say. But one of them was actually kind of incredible because it had these amazing carvings along the front of it. And one of these carvings, I think, was towards sort of the centre, if I remember correctly, was meant to be the face of the child, a depiction rather of the face of the child who was buried within it. That's kind of like a little interesting snapshot back in time, made in marble or whatever it was made from. So pretty incredible right there. And of course, apart from obviously the Roman, the Greek and the Egyptian stuff, there was a whole variety of stuff taken from other civilizations, including some more obscure ones, Celts, Scythians, all kinds of stuff, and of course Chinese and Japanese as well. That was a particularly notable exhibition, actually. There's some really, really incredible stuff. One of the things that actually really stuck out to me from the Japanese exhibition in particular were the Netsuke figurines. So if you don't know what a Netsuke is, it's basically a tiny little figurine carved in either wood or ivory, and you hang them from a sash from a kimono so that you can then attach things to them, so you can carry things. Because that's the thing. Old-fashioned Japanese sort of kimonos and clothing didn't technically have pockets. Instead, you would kind of hang things from the sash. So that's what Netsuke were. They were just sort of decorative little figurines that you clip onto the sash, and you could then hang things from them. But some of these Netsuke that were there in the Ashmolean Museum were absolutely incredible. Because the thing is, these things are only so tiny, and yet the detail on them is utterly amazing. Because clearly these ancient Japanese artists who produced these had such an eye for detail. It was really quite impressive. So if you ever, go to the Ashmolean Museum, that's definitely something for you to look out for. But similarly, actually, there was also in one of the display cases, there was also this ivory Chinese box, really ancient box. And again, it's just the serious attention to detail, because the thing is, every single side, every single face on this box was so elaborate, because the thing was made of ivory, and it was just carved with so many little decorations of things like figurines, little scenes, things like that. Oh man, it just goes to show that craftspeople back in those same civilizations so many hundreds and hundreds of years ago, they were so skilled, probably way more skilled than the majority of people are today. It's incredible, really. But that was the Ashmolean Museum, which is absolutely incredible. I definitely recommend it if you're ever in Oxford. It's definitely worth seeing. But the other big highlight from my Oxford trip was actually that I also got to go to Blenheim Palace, which is just about a 15 or 20 minute drive, if I remember correctly, outside of Oxford. It's big stately home. So for anyone who doesn't know, it's utterly massive. It's huge. Old English sort of stately home, aristocratic mansion, more or less. But it's also quite famous as being the birthplace of Sir Winston Churchill. So I got to go and see that. The staterooms, of course, are pretty impressive. Very opulent as well. That's what they are. And of course, you get to see the bedroom, of course, where Churchill himself was born. Because, and as you can expect, there's pretty much a sort of special exhibition on him and his life right there. But yes, incredible stuff, really. So I got to see, of course, the Ashmolean Museum, and I got to see Blenheim Palace. So yes, all in all, very, very good trip. Extremely enjoyable. And of course, if you are ever down in the Oxford area, I would highly recommend that you go and visit it, because there are some amazing things to see down there. Of course, if you're sticking around the city centre, apart from the Ashmolean, there's all the colleges that you can see, because Oxford, of course, is very much a university town. So there's so many, really old colleges that are hundreds of years in age. So, we're talking things like Lincoln, Merton, Oriel, and, countless others as well that I can't name off the top of my head, but needs to say there's quite a lot of them. So yes, there's that as well. You can always go and see those, and of course there's plenty of historic buildings. You can get tours around the city, whether by guide or from a tour bus, things like that. So amazing stuff right there. Definitely would recommend it. But I'm going to start wrapping up this episode here, this chill out episode, because that's everything I wanted to talk about, actually, for this video. So yes, hope you all enjoyed, everybody, my rambling and my chatter about Oxford, about radio, etc, etc. So yes, there you are. So if you're not doing so already, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Links in the video description as always. You can all go sign up to those to stay up to date with my uploads. You all know the drill by now. But other than that, thank you everybody. Hope you enjoyed this little chill out episode. Hope you actually like these this kind of format overall. 'Cause the thing is, I might do more of these, between challenges, just because they're a nice little opportunity just to have a little chat and do my own kind of thing. So yeah. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else for me to say other than thank you once again, everybody, and goodbye all. Oh, got him! Shit! 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 Get off the edge! Oh! No! No! Go! Get out of here! Get out of here! Get out! Get out! Get out! Get out! No! I'm gonna die! I'm gonna die! I'm gonna die! Ah! That's that monstrosity finished off. Get over there. See ya. Oh shit! No! 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 Oh, fuck! I did not mean to do that. Oh, please don't tell me I have to kill it again now. Shit! Got to stop! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Yeah. Oh lord! No! 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 Holy crap! This area's horrible. Oh my god! I'm being shot to fucking pieces! Ah! Oh my! What the fuck? Holy shit! Holy fucking shit! Whoa! Jesus Christ! Holy shit! Fucking hell! Bloody hell! That did like 1,000,000 damage. This better not be a... Whoa! Shit! No! Oh my fucking god! How many... What?